Hey, I'm back. And I'm a bit late on this one, but I'm finally here to give my review of the IO Audio Sogno. First of all, I'd just like to thank Shenzhen Audio for sending this IEM in for review, and also for their patience, as I've had these on my desk for a few months now. But hey, better late than never. As always, this is just my own experience using these IEMs, and I'm not being paid to give a positive review. Okay, so IO Audio came out of nowhere with their initial launch of the Volare, which got a lot of praise and generally was well received. An IEM that boasted a tribrid design, having one dynamic driver, 4 balanced armature drivers, and 4 ESC drivers per side. They also came with quite impressive packaging and unboxing experience, and a large variety of tips, for a complete package and presentation that offered more of a luxury type of experience. But they were $600, which, while that is still nowhere near the price of some top of the line IEMs, it's still a lot more expensive than most people would be willing to spend, and quite honestly even more than I would pay for those IEMs personally. Well, now, IO has come out with the Sogno, an IEM that does share quite a bit with the Volare, but with some cost-cutting measures, and coming in at $400 this time. That said, these aren't a direct copy of the Volare, as they have differences in their tuning, and even in some ways I prefer the Sogno to the Volare. For starters, they do share a lot of things, such as the overall shell shape and design, with the main difference being the pattern on the faceplate. The Sogno has more of a branching, tree-like design. They both come with the same case, which looks similar to a watch case. It's probably too large for portable use unless you're putting it in a bag, but I think that it was designed like this partially to be used for display purposes, as something that you might want to proudly show off, if you have one of those weird friends that actually cares about stuff like this. The Sogno also comes with the same full variety of ear tips, which was one of my favorite things about the Volare. How an IEM fits in your ear is crucial to getting the best listening experience, so having such a large variety is great. This is also an area where I do prefer the Sogno, as the ear tips this time are all packaged in their own little cases for their respective types, and they can also be removed and stored separately from the main box. The Volare, on the other hand, had the IEM tips presented in drawers in the box, which does give a good unboxing experience and presentation, but it also means that you need to keep the box as part of the storage for the accessories. The cable for the Sogno is similar to the Volare cable, with swappable jacks, but it does also cut down on the weight and bulk by halving the number of wires that the cable uses. The Volare cable has 8 wires that splits into 4 for each earphone, and the Sogno uses 4 wires that split into 2 for each earphone. I'm not really someone that cares much about cables other than their look, comfort, and their feel, so in this case, while the bulky design of the Volare cable does seem impressive, the Sogno cable is lighter and more flexible, which in my opinion makes it more comfortable to actually wear and use. Both IEM shells are on the bulkier side, but they are both lightweight, being made out of resin. Sound-wise, this is where I was most surprised, since Sogno is very much aiming for the Harman target based on the graph results, while Volare is aiming for a slightly more warmer V-shaped response, which should also balance out and reduce the ear gain regions in areas that I tend to have trouble with in Harman-tuned IEMs. Yet, I actually find that the Sogno to be easier on my ears for longer listening sessions at louder volumes. I generally listen to IEMs at lower volume levels, which makes a lot wider range of headphones and IEMs palatable to me. But when listening louder, or at least at levels that the average person might listen to, Volare comes across a bit sibilant and peaky, as it just has too much treble for me to fully enjoy it without EQ, or just listening at quieter levels. The Sogno is tuned closer to Harman in-ear, which at this point most of the community has an idea of how that sounds. I usually don't have the best experience with this type of tuning in the low treble ear gain regions, but I found that in this case with my own listening experience, the region around the 4 to 5 kHz doesn't feel as pronounced or glaring as the graph might imply. Now this is probably just due to my own anatomy, as the graphs are just there to show how they measure on a human-like ear simulator, but each of us have unique ears that also change how the earphone performs in your ear, especially in higher frequencies. And in a way, this IEM was also a reminder of that for me. So to me, the Sogno ends up sounding like a rather clean IEM overall. And while I still can hear a hint of a glaring sort of ear gain, it's not to a point where I found it too harsh or unlistenable, and I was able to use these for quite a while without any sort of EQ. That said, it doesn't necessarily sound remarkable to me either. Definitely above average, and with the Harman bass tuck making bass notes sound a bit more snappy than even the Volare, but at the same time a bit bland and intimate sounding, whereas the Volare had a little bit more of those perceived effects like width and spaciousness. But maybe that's what you're looking for, since if you're going for a more neutral response, you probably are trying to avoid too much coloration. But even though these are a bit cheaper than the predecessor, purely based on sound, I would still probably go with something even cheaper, like the Dusk, or even my personal daily driver, the EM6L, which is quite a bit cheaper. But as IO have shown, They are going for the whole experience, from the unboxing to the accessories, and even just being something that can be seen as a luxury style earphone that can also be a conversation starter. These have all those things in just one package that still sounds rather good, while still being competitively priced. So in that sense, I do think this was actually a good step from IO Audio to expand their customer base.